YCDAs, Mr. Basiru Jalo, Mr. Mohammed Ba, and Miss Mariama Jalo. These are the hands that will weigh greatly and crown goodness. The battle begins 20th December 2025, streaming live on Google Meet. This is more than debate. This is a global movement, a festival of ideas, far and youth. History calls, voices rise, champions emerge. Welcome to the Diaspora Debate Championship 2.0 2025-2026, where brilliance meets destiny. Intellectual warriors across continents. The ninth Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India, GAMIN, proudly unveils the long-awaited second edition of the Diaspora Debate Championship. 8 Gambian student associations, yes, 8 flags lifted high through the renewed alliance between the Young Champion Debaters Association of the Gambia, YCTA, and Gambian. And 8 voices of global generation stepping into the fiercest intellectual arena of the year. How set are we? Because this edition arrives louder, sharper, hotter, and more electrifying than ever. Last year, 6 nations answered the call. This year, the glow of Gambian brilliance spreads across continents. It begins in India, Powerhouse Coast, moves to Malaysia, where academic engines thunder, flies through Indonesia, the archipelago alive with fairy rises over Turkey, the bridge between worlds and ideas, echoes Kenya, East Africa's stretches across Russia, 11 time zones of military endurance, crosses into the United States of America, bold minds shaping the West, and settles in Canada when cold winds forge brilliance. 8 nations, yes, one blazing virtual arena, limitless intellect, singleness, systems. The adjudication there's precision, fire, and mastery. YCDAs, Mr. Basiru Jalo, Mr. Mohammed Ba, and Miss Mariama Jalo. These are the hands that will weigh brilliance and crown greatness. The battle begins 20th December 2025, streaming live on Google Meet. This is more than debate. This is a global movement, festival of ideas, far and youth. History calls, voices rise, champions emerge. Welcome to the Diaspora Debate Championship 2.0 2025-2026, where brilliance meets destiny.
Thank you, each and everyone. And also welcome once again to the GAM Diaspora Debate Competition 2.0. As we are heading to the final round of the quarter finale, we're going to show Turkey go against the indomitable Kenya as well. So before going any further, maybe we can all play in our various ways for at least 30 seconds, please. Thank you very much. Amin Ya Rabbi Almana Dua Almatala. So I would like to welcome Mr. Sajo A.K. Jaju, the President for the Ninth Executive Council for the Association of Government Students in India, to give the opening remarks. Mr. Jaju, you can come in, please. Mr. Jaju, Sajo A.K. Jaju.
Yes, thank you very much. May I confirm my audibility? I'm trying to switch. Okay, let's confirm this. So, may I confirm my audibility again? Am I
Sure.
audible?
Go ahead.
All right. So, yes, thank you very much. So, quoting from Robert Swan, who once said, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." So, distinguished guests here, adjudicators and our debaters, welcome to the last, debate of the quarter finale stage. So tonight or this afternoon for those joining from the Gambia, and this morning for those joining in America and perhaps in Canada, we deliberate on the motion which states this House would redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate resilience and adaptation. So India and Malaysia have already secured their seats in the semi-finals. The question now is simple, and I believe it's quite decisive, which is which two nations will join them to complete the race to the semis. With the government bench represented by Turkey and the opposition bench by Kenya, we anticipate a sharp and, of course, compelling clash of ideas. So at this juncture, I'd also like to use this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of a distinguished personality in our midst, in the name of Mr. Usman B. Fall, the only Rasta journalist of the Gambia from Paradise TV. Thank you, sir, for gracing this day with us. That aside, on behalf of the Ninth Executive Council of the Association of Gambian Students in India, which is GAMIN, we warmly welcome our alumni, the GAMIN family, various Gambian student associations abroad, notably the United States of America, Canada, Kenya, Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, Russia, and of course, India. To the configuration of Gambian student unions abroad, which is COXWA, under the dynamic leadership of His Excellency, Mr. Mamadou Esba. Thank you for gracing this day as well. To the Education Ministry of Gambia, spearheaded by our able moderator here, Mr. Mustafa Sise, and the ever-supportive Young Champion Debaters Association of the Gambia, YCDA, under the relentless leadership of Her Excellency, Ms. Aissatou Sarr, for their invaluable renewal of partnership with GAMIN, and of course, the impeccable adjudication bench that they brought to us this year, and of course, your support. From this point, I, Sajo A.K. Jaju, the president of the Association of Gambian Students in India, hereby declare tonight's session officially open and let the debate begin. Thank you very much. And back to you, the moderator.
Thank you very much, Chad President Mr. Sajo A.K. Jaju, for those wonderful remarks. So without wasting much time, I'll just hand over the baton to our adjudication desk, Mr. Basiru. If you have it, you can take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. Good afternoon from Brussels. And I'm saying good afternoon to my fellow Gambians who are here, and any other way of greetings in other part of the world. Thank you so much. My name is Basiru, as mentioned. I'm part of the adjudicating panel, flanked by Mohammed Bah, who is our boss right now. We have our accurate timekeeper. We are set to observe an order intellectual exercise. Before we proceed, I would like to welcome the government bench to take their seat. And of course, these are imaginary seats. Then the opposition on the other way around also to come and assume or to take their seats. That being said, I would like to call Mohammed's name to ensure that he is here with us, and Mariama, before I say, okay, I have my panel at the end of the day, network problem, maybe in our country, but I think that wouldn't happen. Mohammed, I think Mohammed is in. Mariama also, yeah. Can you please confirm to me that I am audible before I start giving my opening remarks opening remarks rather? Okay, all right. Before we start the debate, I would like to at least remind the debaters. Yeah, my camera, honestly, I have tried working on it several times, but I think I have some problem with my camera. That's the issue. But next time we talk, I would like to use my phone, perhaps, so that I'll be visible. People see me and know the person talking. And I'm sorry if there's any inconvenience in hiding my face right now. Yes, before we move, as I mentioned, I would like to set the ground rules. Um, First, I would like to inform the debaters or remind them that they are all familiar with the adjudicating scheme that we are using because they have debated in numerous occasions. And when we started the debate, adjudicating scheme. Away from that, I would also tell you that each speaker has 7 minutes, and we have what we call an accurate timekeeper who would inform you how we dissect the 7 minutes and what are the issues to be considered at the time of deliberations. So, the other thing that I would like to emphasize would be the POI, the interventions we have. I have experienced what we call a consistent violation of the POI. And I would like to tell people or the debaters in general to ensure that this POI should at least be respected to some extent. The POI is just like a point of intervention, point of information. You intend to ask a question, you understand, to your opponent, and you are given the chance to do so. So try and formulate your question within 15 seconds. The debater who is responding to a POI, who also, or sometimes who allows you to ask him or her a question, should determine to what extent you have violated this. For instance, if the debater believes that you have gone beyond the 15 seconds and you are not able to formulate your question, therefore he or she have the right to ask you to sit down. That being said, if there is any distraction from the opposing side, then the speaker would interject at some point, try to maintain order in the house. It is very unfair at some point to eat up someone's time at the time of deliberation. And we have seen that consistently happening in this debate. Of course, sometimes when you come here, the fire at some point will push you to some extent of violating these practices. However, I would like to remind you that if you ask for a POI and it's rejected, please assume your seat and allow the debater to continue. If that's not respected, then the debates at some point will be so much disruptive, and people may feel otherwise at the end of the day. And we do not want to lay some punishment for those who violate this rule at this particular juncture, because we believe that if you speak to you, you would, of course, understand this. But you understand at some point the fire in the house that would warrant such practices. However, we just maintain some decorum throughout. Yeah, before I call on the first speaker, I would like to allow my people, my fellow adjudicating article individuals to come on and say one or two things if they would have to say anything else. That would serve as a reminder to the debaters as long as or as far as this debate is concerned. Mariama perhaps would say something about the protected time when it starts and elapses. Please, Mariama, the floor is yours for this moment.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I greet you all. As Basil rightly mentioned, I am Mariam Jalo, a member of the adjudication panel, and I would be your timekeeper for this session, inshallah. So, I believe we've all been through the past sessions, most especially the debaters. This is not your first time, but nonetheless, just to put this forward as a reminder, you have 7 minutes for your debate, and you'll be given 15 seconds after the 7 minutes to wrap up. So we know you have your protected time, that is the first minute, and then you have your last minute as your protected time. So the remaining time in between, that is the 5 minutes in between, that is the unprotected time. So we've come to realize that during the previous sessions that a lot of debaters usually fail to distinguish between their protected and their unprotected time. Um, and this can really impact on your presentation because time matters a lot. So the first minute you have to be very mindful because when the first minute is up, I will just use this here. I will rest my hand on the screen like this. So you have to be mindful of on your like you have to be focused on your screen sometimes, and so you can know when your time is up. Most of the debaters do not pay attention to the screen, and they're just reading or let's say presenting, and they forget to pay attention that the time is being indicated on the screen here. So to make this easy, I would suggest that you also keep track of yourself because that usually helps you a lot if you're not focused on the screen and you miss the hand gesture on the screen, then you can know okay my first minute is up. And when you get to your unprotected time as your protected time, most of you usually take your eyes or you entertain your oppositions. Like if you do this, you're only going to waste your own time. If you're debating, let's say you are in your first minute, like use your first minute to tell the judges and the audience, okay, this is my structure, these are the key terms in the motion, these are the definition, this is the references. Take us through your structure so that we can be in line with you and that we can follow you through the debate so that we are not lost when you are debating. Because most of the time this happens. You're debating, but then your audience are not in line with you. They don't know if you're rebuting, if you're giving your points, like everything just messed up. That is why your structure is very, very important. So use your time wisely. Use your first minute wisely to take us through your structure. Do not forget all the key terms and the references that you're supposed to do as well. So then when you go to your last minute as well, that is also your protected time. That is the 7th minute. Make sure when you're summarizing, you tell the judges, okay, this is what I've done. I've given my structure and this is what my structure included. So we can also know, okay, like maybe we are following you, but then we missed out some things. Because mostly when debaters are debating, mostly the paces are not the same. So debaters debate at a slower pace while some rather debate fastly. So the judges may miss out some things, but in your summary, in your conclusion, if you are able to bring it back up, that will be a plus to you. Because if they missed it, they will be able to catch up from your summary and then jot it down. And you will be awarded your mark as it should be. So that is all that I wanted to put forward, like just as a reminder. And then when the 7 minutes elapses, you have 15 extra seconds to wrap up your debate. So if you go beyond that means your time is over. So try and respect your time and do not debate beyond or above the limited time that is given to you. So Basiru, if that is clear, maybe if Mohammed is on board, then we can start the debate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mariama, and our able boss, Mohammed. If there's anything you want to share with the debaters before we kickstart, please come on board. And please, how to call it in fact. Okay, am I audible? Yeah, I believe. Okay, Mohammed, because for him, I think he has a sleeping network. Sadio, please don't laugh at him. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to reach out, but it's impossible. Yeah, I think the network has gone. Okay, just we are going straight to the debate. Notwithstanding, we have an additional thing to mention. That is the ad hominem fallacy. Ad hominem fallacy. Do not attack the person's personality. Please do not attack the person's personality, but rather his or her arguments. I think it has been respected almost in every debate we have had so far. Therefore, maintain that trend. Okay, today's motion invite us to examine the intersection between economic dependency and climate vulnerability in the Gambia. Like for tourism in general, is a major source of national revenue in the Gambia. While climate change poses what we call an existential threat to livelihood, infrastructure, and long-term development in our country and many other countries. Somebody is talking. Okay, are we allowed to support in the comment? Okay, I'll just say something very important. Always do that. You understand? What I am trying to, what I want to, what I want you people or the supporters to please help us with. Do not desire the results until we do so. Do you understand? I just don't want to have the perception coming from people, okay, it's been influenced or the judges have been influenced by this and that. We just want to avoid that. And please do not also say words that may have some psychological impacts on the debaters. Do you understand? It is our duty to maintain that environment whereby everybody would feel safe to debate. And we are Gambians, we know how things work. Please let us maintain that. Yeah, I'm very grateful to the supporters. Honestly, they have been doing wonders and everything is going smoothly as expected. I just want to remind you. Just to continue from where I stopped, this debate challenges what we call teams to weight urgency against flexibility and survival against competing social needs. Now, as judges, what we look at as judges, oh my God, so somebody say something. As judges, we will be looking at for clear definitions, realistic policy mechanisms that I always emphasize. Policy mechanisms, I think, is the alpha or the alpha and the omega of our debate, especially when it's come to policy motions. And a strong engagement with the Gambia specific economic and social, at some point environmental context. Then we look forward to a thoughtful and substantiated debate. Now, I want to inform the government bench. The House is set to hear from the Prime Minister. But before the Prime Minister comes in, I would like to remind the House that the motion reads, this House would reject tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate resilience and adaptation. Now, the Prime Minister, if you are ready, the floor is yours. Okay. And I would advise the Prime Minister or any other debater, if you come, just wait for us rather to indicate to you that, okay, begin your speak so that we can regulate our time. Yeah, we do not start the time before you begin your debate or something like that, or you do not begin your debate before we start the time. And yeah, you just allow us to give you the green light to submit your points, okay? Absatu Jallo.
Yes.
Absatu Jallo, are you ready to begin your submission?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
May I begin?
Yes, Mariama, are you set? Okay, Mariama is set. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Absatu Jallo.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, members of the government bench, members of the opposition bench, I rise in my capacity as the Prime Minister. The motion state, this House will redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate resilience and adaptation. I would like to state the structure of my debate. The structure of my debate explain what the motion is about, give my points on why the government must concur to this, summarize and conclude. Tourism revenue is the total income a country earns from visitors who come for holidays, businesses, or for leisure. In simple terms, it is the money tourists spend inside the country. This includes accommodation, transport, foods and drinks, attraction, and services. Climate resilience and adaptation means using today's resources to protect tomorrow's survival. Today, why is this important? Without resilience and adaptation, climate change will destroy tourism, beaches, and infrastructure. Jobs will be lost, food and water shortage will increase. The economy becomes unstable because many of the Gambia are employed under tourism. First, Mr. Speaker, I would like to give a clear definition of the motion. The motion proposes that all government revenue generated from tourism, whether it's taxes, fees, be ring-fenced and only used for climate resilience and adaptation projects. This includes coastal protection against erosion, flood control, climate resilience infrastructure, ecosystem restorations, and community adaptation program. The aim is to protect the Gambia, whose economic and tourism sector are highly vulnerable to climate change from high-term environmental threats. Argument 1 state, climate change is already a present and growing threat to Gambians' tourism and economy. The Gambia's coastline is the lifeblood of its economy, supporting tourism, fishery, agriculture, housing, ports, and urban infrastructure. A coastal vulnerability assessment showed that the country faces high exposure to high sea level, coastal erosion, and extreme weather, especially in areas including tourism hubs like Banjul. The average coastal vulnerability index the average coastal vulnerability index score of 29 confirmed. This is not a future problem. It is an immediate threat. I repeat, not a future problem. It's an immediate threat. Tourism infrastructure, beaches, and livelihood of coastal community are at risk. Given this scientific evidences of vulnerability, how can Kenya argue against dedicating tourism revenue to climate adaptation when the coastline and tourism is already being damaged? Argument 2 comes. Redirecting tourism revenue protect tourism industry itself. Tourism in the Gambia is overwhelmingly nature-based and coastal. Without a healthy, clean, resilience infrastructure, tourism will simply stop coming, causing jobs to vanish. Example for countries like the Maldives and Costa Rica, so that when tourism revenue is embarked for environmental projects, tourism does not decline, it thrives. The Maldives Green Tax Fund coastal protection, helping preserve islands at the risk from rising areas. Costa Rica revents tourism revenue into forest ecosystem conservation, making the country a global ecosystem leader. If Costa Rica and the Maldives have proven that investing tourism revenue in the climate resilient strengthening tourism, why should the Gambia be an exception? Of course not. The third argument states, this policy is economical, rational, and socially just. The Gambia has limited physical capacity and depends heavily on external aid for climate adaptation. Tourism revenue is one of the reliable domestic resources available to fund urgent resilience projects as well as sea walls, mangrove restoration, flood control, and climate resilient infrastructure. Redirecting these affairs who contribute to carbon emissions, for example, can help for protecting the environment they enjoy. Luxury tourism fees are standard practice worldwide. Why shouldn't the Gambia apply principle to ensure sustainable and fair tourism where other countries have been adopting this and it have worked? Redirecting the tourism revenue will harm general development. Climate disaster will damage infrastructure, school, and hospital anyway. Investing in resilience protect greater losses and protect the economic foundation. Mr. Speaker, I would like to give a closing. Mr. Speaker, redirecting tourism revenue is exclusively towards climate resilience. It's not just a precaution. It is an economic imperative because protecting the Gambia vulnerable coastline and ecosystem safeguard that very foundation of tourism and national livelihood. According to the World Bank Afrobarometer and General Center on Adaptation, climate resilience is not an optional to Gambia. It is the only way to protect our tourist industry and our tourism economy. And our people, this is what the motion does. Countries facing similar climate risks have already implemented this policy with success. The Gambia faces real and immediate future for the Gambia. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Absatu Jallo, for that wonderful deliberation. I think, okay, Mariam has. Okay. So that you are referring to me. It's okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Absatu Jallo, our able Prime Minister. Now, I'm sorry, I just want to give me a second, please. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Thank you so much, Absatu Jallo, for that wonderful speech. We are set to hear from the opposition leader. So, the opposition leader, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'd like to say I'm struggling with cold and cough, so please pardon me. If you can't hear me, kindly let me know as well.
Okay. Honorable Madeline Mendy, I can hear you, and please, if you are ready to begin your speech, we can, of course, welcome you. But now I have one thing to mention. Perhaps you must have forgotten that. Okay, we are obliged to see your face, and we see the person you're interacting with. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you. Now I intend to. Okay. And when you are ready to give your submission, please indicate to me so that we can start the time exactly at the time you intend to begin your speech. Are you ready to proceed, Honorable Martin?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Now the floor is yours, please.
Members of the House, honorable adjudicators, my fellow debaters, good evening. The motion before us today is that this House would redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate change. Sorry.
Madeline, we are sorry to see you experiencing this. cold over there. We are definitely sorry for that. Notwithstanding, Mariama, if possible, can we stop the time until she's ready to begin her submission?
Yeah, sure, no problem. We can start over.
Okay.
Honorable Madeline Mendy, it is imperative to um, wait until when you are able to begin your speech, then you notify us.
I think I can because I'll continue coughing if I don't.
So, okay, okay. Can you please give us, I think, 5 minutes so that we can just draw the curtain, we talk about this situation and get back to the audience or to general public. Um, Thank you so much, Honorable Madeline.
Yes.
Okay, Honorable Madeline, are you able to proceed right now? I was
Yeah.
just trying to have a consultation with my panel, but now, of course, you can continue with your debate, please.
Okay. Thank you. Jesus.
Honorable Madeline, can we see your face, please?
Okay.
Okay, Madeline, now we are set to hear your submissions.
Honorable adjudicators, members of the House, fellow debaters, good evening. The motion before us is this House would redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate resilience and adaptation. We all agree that climate change is real and it is urgent. It is also a threat that we all know of. But as an opening opposition, we oppose the motion not because we deny climate change, but because exclusively redirection is socially harmful, economically reckless, and ultimately counterproductive to resilience in the Gambia itself. I would like to give a structure of my debate. Firstly, I'm going to redefine some of the key terms which the opening government made without citing them. And I'll give three arguments. I'll also mention rebuttal and comparative analysis and a summary and conclusion. Honorable adjudicators, tourism revenue refers to the income generated from the Gambia's tourism sector, including taxes on hotels, resorts, beaches, and park fees. This is from World Bank 2023. Exclusively means that no portion of this revenue can be used for healthcare, education, livelihood, or poverty reduction. And then we have climate resilience means efforts to protect the Gambia's coastline, rivers and infrastructure and communities from the climate risks such as coastal erosion, flooding, and saltwater intrusion. This is from IPCC 2022. If we look at this, the debate is not whether about climate change adaptation deserves funding. It is about whether locking all tourism revenue into a single purpose is responsible in a low income, highly climate vulnerable country like the Gambia. Climate adaptation must coexist with human development, or the country would not survive either, according to UNDP 2022. One of my key arguments is that exclusivity causes immediate social harm in the Gambia. Sorry. One of the first arguments is that exclusivity causes immediate social harm in the Gambia. The Gambia faces multiple overlapping social and economic crises. Poverty affects 48% of the population concentrated in the rural and coastal communities. This is according to GBOS 2022. Then we have youth unemployment is high, especially among women. We can all testify that unemployment in the Gambia, especially among women, is a crisis that we're facing. And then we have healthcare facilities that are underfunded. Many rural clinics lack equipment, which we are all aware of as Gambians. And then we have schools in flooded prone areas frequently closed during rainy season. Tourism revenue is one of the most flexible sources of public funding in the Gambia, according to the World Bank. And redirecting it exclusively to climate projects means that fewer hospital beds and medicines in Banjul and coastal towns. We already have shortages of medication
POI.
medication in the Gambia. And if you look at it, when we redirect all this into climate change, it tends to
POI.
make sure that there are low medicines in Banjul. And then we have teachers and classrooms remain underfunded. Youth employment and community programs are cut. If you look at it, Mr. Speaker, let me give an example of a mother in Lamin who cannot reach a clinic today does not benefit from the seawall or the coastal thing in Kololi built in 10 years or whatever that would happen. A child out of school in Sanyang cannot gain climate resilience from infrastructure alone, according to UNICEF 2021. In the Gambia, climate adaptation without human development is hollow and very fragile. And then my second point is that this policy
POI.
undermines Gambia's tourism sector. Tourism in the Gambia relies on infrastructure, local communities, and human capital. Roads and transportation linking Banjul to Serekunda and coastal resorts are very important. If you redirect some of this, if you redirect the money to actually for climate resilience and other things, what about the places that these tourists are going to stay in? Safety and sanitation is also a key tourist area.
POI.
You also have to train workers in hotels, restaurants, and tour services. And then we have vibrant communities hosting tourists. These are funded at least partially by the tourism revenue, according to OECD 2022. Under exclusivity, roads cannot be built. That is what you're saying. Hotels and airports cannot be upgraded if we redirect all this money. If we redirect all this money to if we redirect all this money to climate resilience, workers training programs cannot run. Communities in coastal
POI.
areas like Katang or Kotu see no investment. This result, tourists encounter poor infrastructure, satisfaction and return visits decline, and revenue shrinks. I think you should learn to listen. I didn't say I was going to accept a POI. When tourist revenue collapses, climate projects themselves lose funding, and it has an impact. This policy destroys the very lifeline it claims to protect. My third argument is that exclusivity produces fragile climate resilience in the Gambia. Gambian communities are already vulnerable to coastal erosion, flooding, and saltwater intrusion, according to IPCC 2022.
Vulnerability is intensified by poverty, poor healthcare access, limited education, informal housing, and along the coast. Physical infrastructure alone cannot protect communities. Without social investment, residents of Baka or Tanje cannot evacuate or rebuild after floods. Farmers and fishers Farmers and fishers cannot recover economically. Coastal adaptation efforts fail. Balanced investments, funding climate projects, and social services creates durable human-centered resilience, according to UNDP 2022. And it has an impact. Opposition produces the stronger, long-lasting resilience that protects the Gambians themselves, not just roads or seawater. So the government may argue that climate change is existence, it must come first. We respond that it does not mean that existence does not mean inclusivity. Poverty, healthcare access, and education are equally essential for Gambians, according to UNDP 2022. The government benchmark would argue argue that tourist revenue should fix climate problems. We respond. This pushes Gambian workers more than the global polluters, removes it removes reinvestment from the communities that sustain tourism. A comparative evidence could be other small island and coastal nation ring fence climate funds while preserving essential social spending, according to OECD 2022. Exclusive spending without social investment fails to protect the real people themselves. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take you back to a summary of what I said. Firstly, I redefined the key terms that the government bench did not cite where they got the information from. And then I gave 3 arguments as to why this is really important for us to have, for us not to redirect all tourism revenue to the climate resilience in the Gambia. And one is that social harm is immediate in Gambian communities. Tourism collapses under exclusive redirection, and the other is long-term climate resilient weakens without human investment. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, climate resilience in the Gambia is not just protecting land from water, it's protecting Gambians from vulnerability. A policy that sacrifices health physical purity is neither just sustainable nor a livelihood for physical. In opposition proudly opposes this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Madeline Mendy, for that wonderful submission. And we are very sorry that you're experiencing this kind of issues while deliberating. Thank you so much. Now we are set to hear from the Deputy Prime Minister. So, Deputy Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Honorable Speaker, members of the government bench, members of the opposition bench, I rise in my capacity as the Deputy Prime Minister of this House on a topic which goes by this House will redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate change, towards climate resilience and adaptation. As my Prime Minister has already clarified and stated the necessary outline and structure of the debate, in oppose of what she was saying, she stated, outlined, gave the structure and gave her points. The structure of my debate, this will be the structure of my debate. I will debunk the baseless points from the opposition leader, strengthen my Prime Minister's point, give a few points, accept one POI, and I'll conclude. To start with the opposition leader, she was like, this motive is counterproductive. And she didn't explain why it is counterproductive. It makes no sense from the beginning. How can something be counterproductive when there's enough funds to tackle climate change? It doesn't make sense. So I need an opening from their shape, the opposition, deputy opposition, something like that. Climate resilience. She also said that climate resilience is unbeneficiary, especially she said some people in Lamen, something like that. So how is that unbeneficiary to them? That was also not clear. She just stated a point. She didn't explain explain her point. And from my point of view, climate change is affecting everybody every day. Imagine someone staying in the hot scorching sun, hyperpigmentation, hormonal imbalance. Explain that, please. So how, in what way is climate change not affecting that? And that's just the minimum. Someone that could have stayed in the market till 5 o'clock a.m. is forced to go back home at 2 o'clock because of the scorching sun. So I need more explanation for that. Buildings and care. So we're not saying the Gambia. You forgot that the tourism sector is the highest in the Gambia. That is the 20% GDP of the Gambia. We agree to that. So that 20% GDP is being taken care of in the tourism sector. And climate resilience and all those stuff is not only about tourism. It fosters tourism. That's what you're forgetting to know. Climate itself is a global problem that needs to be tackled worldwide. Why? Their summit about carbon emission, the production of cars that are using water, production of cars that are using electricity. That is to reduce carbon emission in order to reduce climate change effects in the world, because it is affecting us more than we can know. So buildings, and she said buildings and care. So what about the money that is taken from healthcare sector? Can't that tackle healthcare? Don't forget, the GDP is just 20%. There is 80% more left to tackle of all about what you're saying. And it's not. This is a long-term target. It's not about us doing it. We're taking a whole lifetime to put in that. You start from somewhere, and as time goes on, the budget goes down and it will be redirected to other places, please. So building farmers, fishers can recover. You're forgetting that fishers and farmers are already getting their money. They have been taxed. They have money from the Gambia is making a huge sum of money from fishery, from China's tunnels, from all those stuff. And climate change is also one of the main things why we don't have enough fish in our markets today. If you go to the Gambia, how many people eat fish every day at home? Most people eat chicken. What chicken? Imported chicken, due to climate change. So our rivers need to be settled. Our rivers need to be settled. Our water body need to be settled. And you were focused on the rivers and all those stuff. Climate change and climate resilience doesn't just stop at the rivers, doesn't just stop at the shores. You're forgetting that. Tourists will be attracted to the shores, to the sandy beaches are way more than that. And you like sea and water. Yeah, you only focus on sea and water. So I debunk your point, and I need a clear answer on why it is counterproductive. When 20% of the GDP of the Gambia is the only thing which we're taking from tourism to improve our tourism sector. How can we say that is blocking some other areas, unless there's other places where our money are being leaked that we don't know where they are going. But I don't think 20% of our GDP to develop a sector that is bringing more money, that can increase our sector to about 30% can be counterproductive. To strengthen the Prime Minister's point, this House must understand one brutal truth. Without climate resilience, there is no tourism. And without tourism, there is no Gambian economy. Tourism is not just a holiday. It's not just holiday industry. It is 20% of our GDP, as I said before. Thousands of jobs, our largest source of foreign exchange. Yet rising seas are eating. Floods are destroying our communities, and heat is creeping our infrastructure. Every dollar we fail to invest in adaptation today becomes $10 we will lose tomorrow. This is why this motion is not radical. It is rational. By redirecting tourism exclusively to climate resilience and adaptation, we are not sacrificing development. We are protecting the only development we have, and that is the brutal truth. We all know it. We are choosing survival over collapse, prevention over disaster, and long-term prosperity over short-term politics. Prime Minister, as the Prime Minister said, this House should vote for this motion, because the only way to save tourism is to invest tourism money into saving the climate. You can tell me you're starting a business and the capital you got from the business, you want to redirect it to other place. If you want your business to grow, you take your capital from the capital you get and invest it. You don't say you're eating the capital. Then you have no growth in your business, please. Core debate question. Should the Gambia prioritize long-term climate survival by dedicating tourism income solely to climate adaptation, or tourism revenue to support broader national development needs? I need an answer to that. Safeguarding pro-poor benefits adaptation is development. 70% of tourism jobs are informal, crafts, guides, oyster harvesters. Groups hit first by salination, first stock collapse, and beach loss. That is, you see, it's a step by step. Before we get to beach loss, before it reaches to the tourism themselves, it affects the masses first. Adaptation projects financed from redirected funds are labor intensive. Dune revegetation, small scale irrigation, eco reef construction, deeper analysis show each US dollar spent creates 1.5 times more jobs than standard hotel expansion. By law, 50% of the money channeled through the Gambia Climate Change Fund must reach community designed. So I hope you get this. That is, by the law, 50% of the money channeled through the Gambia Climate Change Fund must reach community designed local climate adaptation plans with women and youth first in line. And I got my source from IMF, International Monetary Funds. The motion therefore preserves the pro-poor character of tourism while making it climate proof. Rebuttal. Diversification into what? Agriculture faces the same rainfall volatility. Manufacturing needs reliable power. Hydro outs is failing with erratic river flow. Climate proofing coastal and river ecosystem is the prerequisite future diversification, be it aquaculture, solar data centers, or eco services. The motion is not eternal. Sunset clause after 10 years or once adaptation gap is closed, freeing revenue for other priorities, as I said before. Tourism gave the Gambia its fastest growth in 2024. Climate change can take it away faster by redirecting every dollar a tourist spends into protecting the beaches, mangroves, and freshwater that lure her here. We don't kill the golden goose. We build a storm-proof coop. That is what the motion does. That is why it must pass. Accepted, PI, please.
You mentioned that Hello?
In summary, you're wasting my time. In summary, all we want to put across is that climate change is a threat. It's a threat. It always informs its form. It is a global concern, particularly in the Gambia, so directing just 20% of the GDP from the very sector that we're getting that revenue from is literally the best investment we can make, because we cannot go and take it from agriculture. It doesn't make sense unless you make a point out of that. This house should know that the main factor affecting the tourism sector is climate change, and the feasible gains are way more than the damages at a very short time. According to the IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, and AFB PPRC 5th October 2022, Adaptation Fund Gambia's national climate change policy puts the cost of its 2030 adaptation plan at approximately $1.3 billion, 8 times what the state currently allocates. Accepted, please, PI.
You mentioned that carbon emissions should be considered, and that the allocation that the government should make from tourism should be funded by the government.
Carbon emission is a cause of climate change, and carbon emission.
And Gambia is a very low
third world country. Go on, please.
The Gambia emits a very low fraction of the global carbon emissions. Should the Western world that produce more of these carbon emissions be asked to provide funds for these disasters?
Why should we ask them to fund? Are we not independent? Are we not an independent nation? Should we depend on somebody to come and do our work for us? Then sleep and let your books sleep and see. Are you serious? Carbon emission is a global issue that is affected. Please, your time is up. I've heard your POI. I'm answering to it, please. So what I'm trying to say is carbon emission is global. It's not because carbon is being emitted in China, it's not affected our ozone layer in Gambia. It doesn't mean so. It's a global crisis, and it can be tackled. That is, climate change is a serious issue that needs to be tackled. And if 20% of the money that we are gaining, of our GDP that we're gaining because of tourism, is redirected to it, which doesn't mean it's forever. It wouldn't even last for 3 years. According to my statistics, that is here up to 2030. That is literally 4 years. We will make 8 times that money. And I've given my sources. What I'm trying to say, you were not listening. I don't know what you're doing right now. What I said was that global climate change is a crisis, and the opposition leader was focused on only waters and whatsoever, while climate change is way broader than that. I think my time is up. Thank you. I'm done.
Oh, thank you so much, Honorable Jaretu, for that wonderful submission. Now we are set to the tail end of the debate. As you all know that we have a half house, meaning we have only 4 debaters to at least clash. Therefore, we have our final speaker from the opposing side. So, Deputy Opposition Leader, the floor is yours. Mariama, your hand is up, please.
Can you see me?
Honorable Kemo Dibasi.
Yes.
I cannot see you from my end. Okay.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. And Honorable Kemo Dibasi, if you are set to begin your speech, you can indicate it to me so that we start the time exactly.
Okay.
The time you intend to give your speech. Is that okay?
That's okay. Yes, thank you, and I will start now. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, honorable adjudicators, members of the House, my fellow debaters, good afternoon. I would like to start my speech by giving the structure of my debate. First, I will remind the House of the motion presented, and I will review the point put forward by the Deputy Prime Minister. Then I will make argument to support the points put forward by the opposition leader. I will give 2 arguments of my own, and I will accept a POI, and then I will summarize and then conclude. First of all, the motion states this House would redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate resilience and adaptation. Exclusively. Let us remember that word, exclusively, meaning 100%. Every dollar and every euro and every dollar earned will be exclusively directed to the tourism sector. That is impractical and misguided. The Deputy Prime Minister did not answer my question properly. I asked her that the carbon emission that the Gambia produces is a fraction of what America, China, and other countries are emitting to the world, and it affects everyone. It affects this country that has very low emission rate, and that those countries should be held responsible for the problem they have caused to the world. She did not answer that. And then she went on giving statistics about saying that according to my statistics, and she gave no sources for those statistics provided. Climate, and to the points put forward by the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister has in her speech agreed that, the Deputy Opposition Leader agreed that the importance of climate resilient adaptation is real, and it is actually real. That we are not saying that climate resilience and adaptation is wrong. It is right. But what we are arguing is about the exclusive funding of all of climate resilience and adaptation, and forgetting all other areas that are concerning health, education, and tourism sector itself. You see. So to my own points, Mr. Speaker, my first point: climate resilience is not a funding problem only. It is a governance, education, behavioral problem. This House proposal to redirect tourism and revenue exclusively, 100% allocation, meaning every dollar will be an euro and dollar and will be redirected towards climate resilience and adaptation. The Gambia GDP is 20% from the tourism sector. 20% of our GDP allocated to one sector only. This is impractical and misguided, because environmental degradation in the Gambia is not mainly a lack of money problem, but a governance and education and behavioral problem. Climate change such as coastal erosion, flooding, deforestation, and environmental degradation persists not because we spend little money, but because our environmental education is weak, our policies are poorly enforced, and our communities lack incentive and ownership. Pouring more money into the climate project without reforming systems simply repeats past failures. Reckless sand mining will persist improper dumping of waste will continue, trees will be cut, land will be degraded, projects will exist on paper and not on the ground. True climate resilience requires environmental education in schools and communities, social education and sustainable farming and land use, incentives such as tax benefits or subsidies for communities and villages that protect trees and our coastal areas. Punishment for environmental criminals is the solution, not rewarding them. Support for farmers, not just funding for abstract projects, but sending experts from the Minister of Agriculture and the National Environment Agency to educate these communities on climate resilience. Without these reforms, Mr. Speaker, funding becomes a cosmetic rather than transformative. We have seen climate funds result in workshops without follow-ups, projects without community buy-ins, and short-term planning campaigns with no long-term survival. Nature is not protected by budgets, Mr. Speaker. It's not protected by budget. It is protected by people who understand, value, and are empowered to defend it. My second point, Mr. Speaker, the policy rewards environmental criminals and encourages corruption. This motion perversely rewards those who destroy the environment while failing to punish them. The sand mining and the mining going around, people are mining without proper regulation, killing our ozone source and environments without punishment. By continuously allocating money for free planting and deforestation and coastal erosion without strong enforcement, the policy creates a dangerous cycle. That trees can be planted, government announces new tree planting funds, the same destruction repeats itself. Instead of stopping the crimes, the state ends up paying to clean it up. What the Gambia needs is strict punishment for illegal logging and deforestation, reward for citizens who protect plants and environment, deployment of agricultural extension workers to rural communities and to coastal areas to educate them on sustainable practices. Redirecting tourism revenue without enforcement simply finances failure. Accepted?
Okay, you say they should redirect that, and all those people that are doing that is all in. It's like it includes that we are protecting the climate, so that is still coming from it. So I don't understand what you're trying to explain.
There is no question in your speech. Can I hear the question?
Protected by budget because
Can
we
I
have
hear the question?
we need people to do it. So who is doing it?
Question?
The question is, the question is, okay. The question is, you see, people should educate people, environmental education, all those stuff. But that is all part of, that is climate change, redirecting the sources. When we say this, we don't just mean that people are going there just to see all those stuff. And you see how it's naturally protected by budget.
Mr. Speaker, exclusive funding also increases corruption. This House should not support a policy that creates opportunities for inflated reports and misuse funds, especially in the system already struggling with accountability. Mr. Speaker, I will give my structure of my debate. I've rebutted the point put forward by the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. I have made arguments in support of my Prime Minister. I have given my own points, and I've accepted a POI, which I did not even hear a question in that speech. I've summarized, and then I'll give my last line of closing. Mr. Speaker, climate resilience cannot be bought. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be bought. It must be built. It is built through education, enforcement, incentives, and community ownership. Redirecting tourism revenue exclusively to climate spending without reform is not climate leadership. It is climate theater. And for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, this House will oppose this ridiculous motion. Thank you.
Okay. This final submission has at least drawn the curtain. That is the end of the intellectual exercise for today. This debate highlighted that climate resilience is not merely an environmental concern, but a deeply economic and social one, as you speak. The teams engage meaningfully, for instance, trying to have what you call trade-off with the difficult question of whether exclusive on the line, redirection of tourism revenue is a necessary act of prioritizing or an overly rigid policy with unintended consequences that what I have seen coming from different angles. We commend the debaters for their grounding or how they ground their arguments based on Gambia's reality as we speak, because I have heard people coming as low as market vendors trying to analyze the context or the impact this will have if this policy is being enacted. We commend the debaters for their at least sharp analytical minds and for thoughtfully engaging the trade of intent inherently at some point in this motion. We will have a recess and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if possible, we will just come and analyze the debate for a couple of minutes. Then we can say bye-bye to some people and welcome another team perhaps next week to get into the semi-finals. Thank you so much, Mustafa. The baton is yours for the moment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much, Mr. Basiru, Madam Jariatu, Mariama, Absatu, Madeleine, and Mr. Kemo for those wonderful remarks as well. So before opening the floor for contributions from our general attendees, I would just want to first address them. I would like to advise our debaters to please not engage with the chat box. Please try and stay away from the chat box, because if not, it's going to distract you from what you actually have at hand as well. So yeah. So now we are going to invite contribution from the general attendees. The floor is open. Whoever has anything to add, you can just raise your hand and then we are going to allow you to comment, please. Thank you very much. Mr. Sadio A.K. Jaju, and our this thing as well, our alumni as well, they are here with us. Our president for the 8 Council, that is Mr. Mbo. We thank you very much for attending this thing, and all others are alumni who are with us here as well. So, Mr. Sadio A.K. Jaju, if you have anything to add, please, Mr. Modu Luis and Mohamed and everyone. So, yeah, the floor is open. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Why do you always like to put me on spotlight, or would I say catch me off guard?
Adam Barrow,
Yeah, so,
go ahead, Adam Barrow.
No issues. So the motion that is been tabled by the Turkish side reads: this house would redirect tourism revenue in the Gambia exclusively towards climate resilience and adaptation. So for me personally, as somebody that comes from a tourism development area, I think this motion is quite timely, even though there are a lot of issues that are ongoing in the Gambia, but tourism is one of the key things that we ought to discuss as individuals. So I believe when it comes to the side of the motion, that is like those that are proposing it, perhaps the government side, they are more or less debating on the aspect of the exclusively as a term that is been used in the debate. So I believe when it comes to tourism in the Gambia, to some extent, it's climate dependent, and I think it's also highly vulnerable to those of us that live around those areas. For example, when it comes to this rising sea levels, coastal erosion, flooding, it was adversely mentioned by most of the debaters here, and also the heat stress to some extent directly threaten beaches and hotels. Because just as I said initially, as somebody that lives around the beaches, you come to the realization that growing up, to some extent, we had the hotels, they were there as expected. But as we were growing up, you realize that the ocean waters or whatsoever were intruding into those houses. And as such, they had to introduce these ideas of having rocks around those oceans and whatsoever. So I suppose it's quite timely, wherein we can discuss aspects of biodiversity and livelihoods that live around those areas. So on the hind side also, when it comes to the side of the opposition, I believe again, exclusively is one of the terms that everybody ought to highlight or stress as far as I am concerned. Because, one could talk about, let's say, climate resilience being economically rigid and socially short-sighted. But again, tourism revenue is a vital national resource that should support diversified development priorities, including healthcare, education, because again, like those of us that lived around those areas would have those opportunities. To say the tourists that you that will come to the Gambia to some extent, supporting you at your school level, to say supporting hospitals around those areas. So I believe also when it comes to youth employment or unemployment, perhaps you have some people would serve as bumpsters, as the term we would use, to say that serves as an employment for them. You have those that will be doing the driving, like the taxi drivers and whatsoever, the tour guides and all those things. So again, I think the infrastructure part also is very, very key, because even those that are from Badibu and so on, you would see them around those areas because of the infrastructure that comes with it. So perhaps I haven't sent pictures, and I think that is quite necessary to some extent. And I believe to some extent, again, that kind of strengthened our societal resilience to climate shocks. So again, just as I mentioned, exclusively is very, very key in this motion. So I think exclusivity risks underfunding these critical sectors and overburdening tourism with climate financing alone, despite climate change being across, sectoral responsibility. So all in all, I believe what's more important here is like to have a balanced, multi-stream funding model, combining tourism revenue with international climate finance and also, private investment to some extent. So I believe that would help us as individuals. So as far as I'm concerned, I think as I mentioned initially, the motion is quite timely, and the both sides of the aisle did absolutely well as far as the motion is concerned. And I know the judges or the adjudicators. Let's see what other people would have to say as far as the said motion is concerned. But I believe it's very, very timely. And yeah, best of luck to the debaters. And back to you, the moderator. But please stop putting me on the spotlight. You should have waited until I raised my hand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jaju, for those wonderful. Okay, next time I will put you in the spotlight. Okay, no further. So attendees from Turkey, Kenya, and anywhere around the world, you can come in, please. Don't just raise your hand, and we are going to allow you to actually give your contribution on the table motion. Thank you very much. Suleiman Traore, you can come in, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. MashaAllah, I really learned a lot. Well, I have just a simple thing to say, which is about the comment section. Like I am following there, but I've seen something that if me personally, if it is me, like I would run away from the debate, which is mockery. I get to understand some are there mocking other debaters, which myself I think that should not be done, because as a beginner of debating or debate, if you are facing such things, it will be very, very difficult for you to come back again. So I think we should try and avoid that. Let's encourage each other or one another instead of mocking one another, because at least the person has this ball to come up and debate. There are other people that they didn't have that zeal to come forward, do the debate, but at least someone has that courage to come in front and do what he or she can do. So I think to encourage would be more better than mocking the person by telling that you're not preparing such things like that. I think it's very, very important we avoid such things. So that is my observation there. And thank you, everyone. I'm sorry also if I offended anyone. It's not my intention to do such, but Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suleiman Tarawale. So before allowing anyone to comment, please, I would like to add something to what Suleiman actually said. Like at the beginning of this thing, like we reach out to different associations, and it was very, very hard to actually have people to represent their various associations. So most of the debaters here today, they came in voluntarily, and this is their first time. So as Suleiman is actually saying, I think like we need to use the chat box in a very meaningful manner, in such a way that next time it will be very, very easy to have people on board. Because being a first timer is never easy. Being a first timer is very, very hard. And these topics are not topics that that we give it to them a month prior. We just give it to them 48 hours prior to the debate for them to prepare and actually come and give us the deliberations. So I think like the best thing we can do for them is actually like clap for them, or if we have any addition, we can wait till when we are having our contribution. That is actually what we are doing. We tend to set lights. The point you have may actually differ from what they are presenting, but that doesn't actually mean what they are saying is actually not true as well. So I think that the chat box will be best if you use it in a positive way, not to look down on others as well. So this is not a personal attack on anyone. It's just an advice to actually tell you that most of these people here, they actually volunteered because they see to it that these are things that we need to discuss to actually see to it that the Gambia will move and actually be a country that we all dream of one day. So thank you very much, Mr. Suleiman Tarawale. I actually wanted to wait till the end to actually say this, but now that you have actually bring it up. So thank you very much, Mr. Tarawale. This is the first Tarawale Kunanka whom you read. He actually give a very, very, very good contribution. So thank you, Mr. Tarawale, for that. Mr.
I wouldn't accept that from you. I hope you are not from Kontekunda.
No, don't worry. I'll not tell you. Mr. Ibrahim NBY, you can come in, please. Yeah.
Hello, everyone here present. I'm Ibrahima from Turkey. But what I'm seeing here, like through the conversation here or the chat, I've not seen anyone like doing mockery here. Remember, debate itself is not easy. Are you guys not watching the National Assembly, how debates are? Nobody have, even this one, how to call it, is it Madeline? I don't know. People are always saying that, she didn't came prepared. She came prepared, you understand. Even at first, she was coughing, we respect that, we at least, gave her some time. Nobody was talking. But the issue is, we told her that, she is the one who even mentioned that this is her first time. But no matter what, when you are coming for debate, remember, this debate is not only limited here. You might see yourself in the future in other platform, which maybe you might have like, maybe a audience of like thousands of people who are even more educated than you or elder than you. You understand? So, but any debate that you find yourself, you have to be prepared. That is it. It's always a hot seat. I don't know whether you understand. You might encounter a lot of things, but nobody's here like mocking anyone here. I've not seen that though. Thank you.
Ibrahim, okay. Thank you very much. For that. No, it's not only about you, and it's not only about today. Like, we have received complaints from various debaters, like it's going to be very hard for them to come back in because of like what they actually face from the comment section. That is why we are actually putting this to everyone. And what we are seeing as well, it also makes sense. Like they might actually see themselves doing debates and at different places. But for today, they are first timers, and for doing something for the first time, the courage. I'm trying to acknowledge the courage that they actually took into today. I would love you to see you also representing Turkey, because like this is actually something that will be happening every year.
We are always ready. So, we have a lot of students here who are ever ready. So we have Jaria to after those people are really doing wonders.
Okay, no problem.
We are all students, so we are always learning.
Okay.
So, but one of the most important thing, the debaters, they just have to stay away from the chat. They don't have to write there. You understand? The chat, I mean, is for the audience. I don't know whether you get it. They just have to stay away from it. I do not even expect any chat or response from them. Leave it for your audience. It also, make a lot of sense. I don't know whether you get it. Thank
All
you.
right, no, thank you very much.
All right, you guys are doing well because we are all students. We are always learning new things here.
Okay. Madeline, you are debated today, so I cannot allow you to give contributions, please. Mr. Sajo Eke Jaju, you can come in here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think what most of the speakers here make mention of is very, very important because, when it comes to this chat box, I don't think we can mute it whatsoever. It's more or less having to do with various countries supporting their participants or supporting the various countries as far as this debate is concerned. But I think, just as the previous speakers mentioned, it's very, very important as human beings and as individuals to be quite respectful in whatsoever we ought to do. And I'd advise all debaters to try by all means to desist from the chat box whatsoever. If you can even cover it, I think that would be the best thing. Myself, I enjoy the comment section a lot, but I think what's more important is while you are debating, try by all means to not even look into the chats or whatsoever. If you can mute it from your end or whatsoever, you can do that. Do your debate, and once you're done, perhaps you can get back to it. So one thing I know for sure is that if we want to stop this chat box or comment section to say muted, some of the violences here might not be attending the debates, and this is not the aim of it. We ought to have a lot of Gambians joining us both in the diaspora and those back home joining the debate, and ensuring that they will be ideas as matters. Maybe mute. Yeah, so that we can have a lot of people, contributing time and again. So that would be an issue. But then as debaters try by all means to not be on the chat box per se, commenting there or whatsoever. I recount a moment here during our interstate debates in India, and it was quite challenging for me. It was actually the first time that we had an interstate debate here, and I was representing my state. So in this particular semis, it was quite challenging. And, I was carried by the comment section, so much so that when the POIs or the questions were being raised, I could not, like I was not paying heed to it. I wouldn't even know what the questions were. Had to ask the debaters to repeat it, which, to some extent kind of wasted my time and all those things. So I believe it will be good for us to, control our emotions, to be quite respectful in whatsoever we do. And that is to all of us, myself, the debaters, and every other individual that is here. Same people that will be seen in Gambian parliaments, we're the same people that will be seen in Gambian councils, we're the same people that will be seen in the executive. So I think it's quite imperative that we are quite, respectful in our utterances, per se, in our writings. Though, utterances could be speeches or whatever. But again, when we write, it's more or less our utterances. So let us be respectful, let us exercise patience, and let us also be tolerant in whatsoever we do as individuals. Yeah, so thank you very much. And back to you, the moderator again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiama Sembe, for those wonderful words as well. So, just like we mentioned, no personal attack, no nothing. The chat box is still open. Violence can continue and everything, but let's just not do any personal attack. So, yeah. So now back to our table motion. If anyone has anything to add on to it, the floor is still open. Yeah. Thank you.
views and debate. Yes, renewed India is a global winner of the year. How set are we? Sharper, hotter, and more defiant than ever. Last year, global aliens spreads across continents. It begins in India, powerhouse host, moves to Malaysia, where academic engines thunder, flies through Indonesia, the archipelago alive with fairy tales, echoes, Africa's stretches across Russia, 11 time zones of mental endurance, crosses into the United States of America, bold minds shaping the West, and settles in Canada when cold winds, fought, hot billions, 8 nations. Yes, one blazing factual arena, limitless intellect, singleness, excellence. The adjudication there's precision, fire, and Masri Jalo, Mr. Mohammed Dar, and Miss Mariama Jalo. These are the hands that will weigh brilliance and crown greatness. The battle begins 20th December 2025, streaming live on Google Meet. This is more than debate. This is a global movement. Festival of ideas, fire and youth. History calls, voices rise, champions emerge. Welcome to the Diaspora Debate Championship 2.0 2025-2026, where brilliance meets destiny.
Okay, so the floor is still open. Mr. Ibrahim NBY, if you have anything to add on the table motion, the floor is still open. You can come in, please. Mr. Ibrahim from Turkey.
Yes. Hello. I don't know whether you are hearing me.
So go ahead. I'm hearing you.
One thing also I observed, when you are debating, you give out points. You understand?
No, Ibrahim, maybe like we limit it to the table motion, please. Motion, please.
No, it's just
please.
contribution. No, this is not even about Turkey or the I don't know.
Okay,
yes.
Make it general.
If you
make it general,
points, do not forget to at least mention the possible solutions to these problems. I don't know whether you understand. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm saying, I'm not downgrading anyone's participation or your research because all of them they have done wonders. You understand? So at least let's call a spade a spade. So and then by calling a spade, what I'm saying here is when you are giving out the points, you understand, just at least make sure that you also include what are the possible solutions to these problems. At least it's very important also. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. NBY, for those ones here. So it's still open. Whoever has anything to add, you can come in, please. Madam Senabu Ture, do you have anything to add? Madam Sienabu Ture. If you have any contribution on the table motion, the floor is open. You can comment. Madam Adam Afai as well.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, hello, Madam Fay. Go ahead.
I just want to say that the debate is very interesting and it's an interesting topic. And I think it's timely. I would just say that I think climate change issues should be for everyone who lives in this planet Earth. I mean, when there is fire in an apartment you live, maybe it's caused by your neighbor. You won't wait for your neighbor to turn it off, right? So you will do something about it. So even though we might be a very small country in Africa or in the world, but we still need to be part of that fight, because I think when there is extinction, it's going to affect everyone and we will be affected, of course. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Madam Fay. So our adjudicators are ready. Mr. Mohammed, you can take over now. Thank you very much. Mr. Bah.
Yeah, hello, Mustafa.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, please, may I confirm whether you all are able to hear me?
Sure. Loud and clear.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much. All right. Thank you. So the internet is a little bit unstable today. I do not know whether. May I confirm whether I am still audible, please? I just want to be sure that you all can hear me. Mustafa? All right, thank you. So it was an interesting debate, and you can see that I am a little bit sweaty. That is because from the recess we were having a lot of back and forth as judges. I would say there was a debate that Malaysia participated in. I can't remember which country, but that debate and this one can compare them in terms of intensity and their informative aspect and and also being insightful. So the agreement was to have Mr. Jallo to do what I'm doing right now, to give feedback. But again, due to one reason or another, he's unable to do it. But I still believe he's still with us on the call. So the motion is a very timely motion, considering the fact that climate change, as the debaters or one of the debaters mentioned during their submission, that it's a very timely thing. It is a reality. It is something that Gambia cannot ignore. It is something that we're faced with as a country. Again, in as much as it is a reality, we also know, even though we are expected to respond to these realities to ensure our sustainability, but now we are caught in a dilemma, all right? It is more or less like having an amount of money that is not a lot of money, of course, but now you're torn between having to solve very immediate needs and also ensuring that you spend the same amount of money to ensure long-term benefits like climate adaptation and resilience. So that is the reason why this motion, personally, when the debaters started debating, I was looking forward to having very, very practical solutions and practical arguments as opposed to theoretical ones. Theoretical arguments are good, but some of us who are on the ground right now, we know how important and invaluable practical arguments can be. All right, because sometimes when we talk with people and then we criticize the government and then we criticize some of their steps, now we are put in a situation where we are told, now what can we do realistically? All right, that is when we start realizing that for the most part, theoretical arguments are not very helpful. All right, and I would say with all honesty and sincerity that this debate has provided us with a lot of practical arguments that for a moment, I had a feeling that almost all of the debaters were my expectation. I do not know whether any of them is around for the holiday, but again, my expectation was maybe all of these people, even though they're not all around, but most of them are probably, they've left not long ago, because you could see and even hear that almost all the points that were being given are backed by examples that are real, that are real, and that are also very practical, and that are also, one can argue, that are also lived experiences. So without boring you with a lot of talk, when we came up with this motion, our agreement as a team was, so since tourism is one of the sectors that the government relies on to generate revenue, to advance or to even fund its development projects. Agriculture does the same thing. International funding is equally something that the government relies on. So now, when we came up with this topic, we wanted to know, can there be one sector, considering the immediate need for tackling climate change and also building and also adapting and also building resilience? Can there be one sector that we can identify and say all the revenue that this particular sector generates is going to be earmarked specifically for this particular problem? Then we agree that it's going to be tourism. But we also know in our minds that this is not going to be an easy thing to do, because even if the government intends to or even adopts this particular policy, whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, there are bound to be challenges, as it's been highlighted by some of the debaters during the course of the debate. So we wanted to know, really, that if this policy is implemented, even though its advantages are obvious, the problem that it seeks to address is also very obvious. And if that problem remains unaddressed also, what can happen is also very obvious. But what we were looking forward to was to also see what would be the downside of something like this. And I am happy to say that the debaters have really done us good. The debaters have really helped us and even assisted us to a very great degree to understand what the downsides of a policy like this would be. And they've been very clearly enumerated for anybody who cares to know. If the government intends to go ahead with a policy like this, what are the likely problems that can happen? Because whether we agree with it or not, climate change is a reality. And as one of the debaters again mentioned during the course of the debate, its consequences are already being felt all over the place. People who are from coastal areas like Tangi and Sanyang and Katong and Gunjur, if those people are saying now they can't even afford fish, I don't know what people from, no offense, but people from Brikama, people from Lamen and places that don't have, shores what are they going to say? Because these people also depend on these people, but these people are now saying they can't even afford fish. So because again, there are reports that the coastal area, there are how do I put it? The sea level is rising. And again, there's also what we call coastal erosion. As we speak right now, people are saying now the sea is just coming and it keeps, so all of these things are realities. And again, I do not know how many of you have been around recently, but people are even speaking in terms of saying, as recent as this time around, certain people say something like, I don't know, someone said there was rain some time ago. I do not know whether we should call it drizzling or raining, but again, some of us still could not understand what that was, okay? Because there was a time when we knew when it was rainy season and when it was dry season. We used to know that, all right? And we're not even that old. And now we're finding ourselves in a situation where we cannot even tell one season from another. So I think if anybody is finding it very difficult to believe whether or not climate change is a reality, then there you go. The evidence is indisputable. So moving on to give a very brief, because I understand that time is always the enemy, a very brief rundown of the debate with specific focus on the individual debaters. So with respect to the Prime Minister, she did a very good job. The Prime Minister came, introduced the motion, attempted to define. There's a reason why I'm trying to be very careful with the language I'm using, because as far as our judgment is concerned, the Prime Minister did not give us a definition that is worthy to be called a definition. And that is the reason why I'm saying she attempted to define, which is also something that should be acknowledged. She did not really set a scope, and I believe she should have done that, all right? Setting a scope, we've always spoken about it. It's very important because if you do it now, you're making life easy for yourself as a debater. Because if you don't set a scope for your debate, you're more or less like opening the floodgates. You're more or less giving an edge to your opponent because now your opponent can just pick the debate from every aspect that they like. You don't do that. That's very risky, okay? So the scope I was anticipating, I'm not going to say what I was anticipating, but the scope that the Prime Minister could have said was when this particular thing is expected to take effect. Very important. Or what time is it going to take effect? Very important. Maybe if the Prime Minister had said this is going to take effect in 10 years before that 10 years, maybe all the money that is generated from the tourism sector is going to be plowed back to solving social problems like schooling and hospitals, healthcare, and all of that, then the opposition bench wouldn't have had any arguments with respect to social services. But the reason why they said if you do this is risky, because now that means you're going to be hurting schools, you're going to be hurting hospitals, and you're even going to be hurting our markets. It's because no scope was set. So it was more or less like left open for the opponents. So please, I implore on the Prime Minister, going forward, if you happen to be given the role of a Prime Minister, please always set a scope for your debate. It's very important. If you don't do it, you're putting yourself in a very risky position. Then again, the Prime Minister went on to give us certain points as to why this policy should be supported. The Prime Minister gave us the importance of ensuring that all the revenue that is earned from the tourism sector is plowed back to climate building adaptation and climate resilience. And she gave a very powerful argument that tourism, as we know, depends very largely on climate on climate change. That is, because the consequences of climate change also affecting tourism to a very great extent. And this is something that none of us can dispute, because the shows that we're speaking about right now, for example, we struggle with maybe the heat, all of these things are affecting tourism. So she's saying, getting the money that is generated from tourism and specifically earmarking it for building adaptation and resilience is more or less like strengthening tourism itself. So that's a very powerful argument if you ask me. And I think the Deputy Prime Minister also when she came, she said something that was very important in strengthening this point by saying, if you set up a business, if you set up a business, every profit that you earn from that business, it is that profit that you're going to use to reinvest it into the same business so it can grow. So meaning all the revenue that is generated from tourism, if it is plowed back to building climate adaptation resilience, that is more or less like strengthening our tourism sector. I agree with that, 100%. But again, like I said, some of the downsides of the Prime Minister would be a lack of audibility. All of us agreed as judges that we were not able to hear her as we would have wanted to. She was, I really do not know what must have been responsible. I don't know whether it was due to internet, or maybe it was a personal choice, or maybe it's got something to do with her level of confidence or whatever. But we could not hear her as we would have wanted, and we realized that if we're unable to hear what you say, it's going to be very hard for us to be able to have a very balanced, fair, and just judgment of your submission. So please, moving on, try to be as audible as possible. Try to be as assertive as possible. Again, assertiveness is very important. The Prime Minister also, again, wasn't very assertive with her points. She would mention one thing, but she would mention it in a way that a person would mention something that they're unsure of. That was also something that we observed. So please, moving on, improve on that, Madam Prime Minister. But over and above, it's a very good debate, and I would say it's above average. For the Deputy Opposition Leader, for the Deputy Prime Minister, she's done very well. That is Madam Jariatu Jalo, one of those. All right. She's done very well. And I think when she came, most of the job that was left uncompleted or unfinished by the Prime Minister, Jariat was unable to help us understand exactly where the Prime Minister was trying to come from. And please, if you are a debater and you're part of this platform right now as we speak, take this from these debaters. There's a reason why we need two debaters, because we know 7 minutes is very limited for you to be able to debate exactly the way you would want to debate, to be able to convince people. So there's a need for teamwork. That is the reason why when Jariatu came, Jariatu was able to help us understand, because he was able to draw everything that the Prime Minister was intending to say into perspective. But again, she did a very good job, no doubt about it. But again, the problem we had as a people, as a team, was she was in a way kind of going ahead of herself. And I understand why that must have been the case, because the time that is given is limited. So maybe she had a lot of things to say, all right, and then she wanted to just kind of make sure she was going at a pace that would allow her to say everything that it is that she has wanted to say. But again, it is important to debate out of time and be understood than to debate within the time given without being understood, if that makes sense. So please, moving forward, yes, you should be conscious of the time that you're given to debate, but again, try by all means that whatever it is that you are saying, the adjudicators are able to hear it. Because like I say, we work with what we are given, all right? We work with what we're giving. And then if we're unable to hear specifically what you are saying, it gives us a problem, because now we cannot give a very fair, balanced, and just judgment of what your submission is, because we're unable to hear you properly. I'm not saying we didn't hear anything. For the most part, we had everything that the debater has said, but it would have been way better if maybe the pace was a little bit slower than it was. That's just a side note. I would have wanted to go on and on and on, but due to time, I would try to maybe keep this very brief. She also brought an argument that was very sensible. She said something like tourism is a sector. And again, whether we like it or not, the government depends very heavily on tourism. And I'm not sure what the statistics, I can't remember from the top of my head, but she gave a statistics, I think a study, that tourism, I think, is the second largest revenue stream that the government relies on. And if the government works on things that would be doing the right thing, and that is the reason why she said this particular motion is not a radical one, but it is a rational one. I supported that argument, 100%. But I was equally looking forward to having the opposition bench debunking that, but then it wasn't rebutted. So because it wasn't rebutted, then like we said from the beginning of the debate, if a point is given by a particular debater, even if we disagree with the point as judges, but if the point remains, if the point is not rebutted or even debunked from the beginning of the debate right through to the end, then the point remains standing. All right, and we work with it as adjudicators. So it is not our responsibility to decide who is saying the fact or who is saying something that is beside the fact. Our responsibility is to work with what we're given. So because the opposition bench did not really debunk that particular point, so it stood from the beginning of the debate right through to the end of the debate. So moving on to the opposition bench, I would have wanted to go on and on, like I said, but time is always the enemy. So the opposition leader, Madam Mendy, and again, we have to acknowledge the fact that she wasn't at her best due to very obvious reasons. But even with that, she has done a very good job by indicating something that the Prime Minister forgot to do. And it was her responsibility to make sure that the Prime Minister did the right thing. So because the Prime Minister didn't give us any sources as to where her definitions might have come from, she indicated that that was unacceptable. And we all agree. As debaters, we know that anytime you want to define anything, there's a need for you to source your definitions from a credible source. That's important because if you don't do that, like I said the last time, it is considered to be a mere opinion that any of us can give. She rectified that. She redefined the key terms in the motion, all right? She went on to also, she did something that is very important. And that is, we always try to make this very clear. Debating against a person does not necessarily mean you're disagreeing with everything that they are saying. Although we are saying, when you're debating, you're within your rights to debunk everything. But again, it gives you a leverage if you can agree with the obvious, which is the fact that climate change is a reality and it also requires immediate intervention. But now, what she has a problem with as an opposition is how the proposition or the government bench intends to go about this. She said, and I quote, exclusivity causes immediate harm. So she's saying if all the revenue that is generated from tourism is plowed or is earmarked for climate adaptation and building resilience, then she's saying this is going to hurt our healthcare that you and I depend on for our health needs. This is going to hurt our schools. This is going to hurt our young people. Unemployment rate as we speak, we all know the rate as we speak. So she's saying we have these immediate needs, which are social needs, immediate social needs. And we also have a threat, consequences of climate change. So she's saying if all of this thing, all of the money that is generated is earmarked for specifically for this thing, then there's a problem here. So what's the motion that is brought by the government bench, but it's also trying to let us know that there is a need, a huge one, to not underestimate the importance of also responding to some of the social services like healthcare, education, and employment, and all of that. So that was something that I found very smart and intelligent, and again, all the other adjectives that would show that the person really knows what they're talking about. She equally speaks about that this particular move, if it is taken by the government, is going to undermine the tourism sector, which is also a very valid point. That is, there are individuals who are working in the tourism sector, and those individuals, they depend on the social services. And the social services affect these individuals to a very great extent. So if the social services suffer, these individuals are going to be affected. And if they're affected, that will have a direct impact on the tourism sector. A very intelligent analogy, and again, very indisputable. So she did a very good job. And again, to the deputy opposition leader, I've spoken about, to the deputy opposition leader, Mr. Dibasi. Mr. Dibasi was more or less like a lecture, I would say, for Mr. Dibasi, because the reason I'm saying it's more or less like a lecture is because he has been one debater who's been, for today of course, who's been able to help all of us look at this entire thing from a different perspective. Because when we say all the revenue that is generated from tourism, now our concern is only on funding, on finance, okay? But Mr. Dibasi is saying some of the problems that we are having as a people with respect to climate change are actually behavioral problems, all right? He is saying that climate change is not only we cannot only make it look like we need money to solve the problems of climate change. He's saying, and he gave very real examples, like the sand mining that is happening in our coastal areas. He's saying those are behavioral problems. So if strict penalties are imposed on people who are engaged in activities like that, then you realize that you wouldn't be needing money to solve a problem that can be solved by attitudinal change. That was a very valid point. I do not know whether if he had somebody who was going to come after him was going to debunk that, and I was really going to be very interested in in how that person was going to debunk that. But again, I find it to be a very valid point. And he equally spoke about. There's this one point that he spoke about that I also found to be very valid. Yes, he said something like, because he cited a study, and he said, there's a particular study, I can't remember specifically the name of but then he cited a particular study by saying the Gambia, because the gas emission, it appears as if the government bench are basically saying, they're saying climate change is a threat, and we all agree. But Mr. Dibasi is saying, instead of the government making it look like it is their sole responsibility to solve the consequences of climate change, he's saying the adverse effects of climate change, all right, can be, or should also be, the responsibility to solve them should be shared, meaning the countries that are responsible for emitting the largest portion of this thing that is affecting our atmosphere, even affecting the climate, are or should be morally obligated to contribute towards solving this problem, all right? And it is not necessarily supposed to be the responsibility of the government alone. It was going to be very interesting to find someone who was going to come to debunk that, to rebut that, or to even set that point aside. But since no one came after him, that point stood. And as judges, we equally found it to be a very valid point. Because the reason why now we are speaking about the government having to divert or even redirect every revenue that is generated from tourism exclusively for climate change is because we're concerned about the problems of the adverse consequences of climate change. So he's saying the countries that are responsible for creating this problem must also be forced to contribute. So if those countries contribute, based on his analogy, if those countries contribute, then there wouldn't have been a need to direct all the revenue that is generated from tourism exclusively for solving these adverse effects of climate change. I don't want to go on and on, but again, like I always say, time is always the enemy. But like I said the last time, there's a page that is created for adjudicators and participants to interact. We don't know everything. And if there's any time that you feel any of our feedback is maybe not properly crafted or even not in line with what you think is right, you should always feel free as a debater to engage us on the page. And if there's anything that you think we've said that is unclear and you need clarifications on it, you can always reach out on the page. And when you send a message on the page, myself, Basil, or Mariama, if any of us is available, we'll respond to it. And based on the debates also that you have had, if you feel there's any motion that is given to you and for some reason you feel it is unnecessary or even maybe misunderstood, always feel free. All right, we're always open for your comments, your recommendations, and even your criticisms, constructive ones, of course, all the time. So now to the part that we're all waiting for. So after having done everything, after having gotten the scores from all the three judges, and then we've tabulated everything, here are the scores that we came up with. So let's start with Turkey. After we have accumulated everything and did the maths and all of that was necessary, Turkey scored 67%, 67%. And Kenya, 71%. And based on that as well, and based on the inputs of all the judges, the Best Speaker Award is given to Mr. Kemo Dibasi for today's debate. And that has brought us to the end of this feedback. And like I said, if any of you has anything, if any of you has anything that it is that you want to share with us as adjudicators, whether it's clarification, recommendations, or even constructive criticism, you can always reach out on the page. And then if any of us is available, we will respond to it. Yeah, so Mustafa, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed, for those wonderful remarks as well. So thank you, each and every one of you. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Modo Luis, the Vice President of the Net Executive Council for the Association of Government Students in India, to give the closing remarks. Mr. Luis, if you are with us, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Batova. Am I audible and visible? Batova?
By putting as much as you want.
I'll rock this thing till the end of the week. Yeah, assalamu alaikum to everyone that is present here. Yeah, this was really an interesting debate, to be honest. I wanted to give my, contributions, but I was using another device for the recording, and I could not join at that moment. But yeah, I will not take much time because this is the closing remark. I will just give the closing remarks, leaving this topic, maybe for another time. But there's one thing I want to address before, closing this debate regarding what you guys have been saying regarding the chat box and all of those stuff. Yeah, I'm just pleading to all the debaters, the chat box is for the audience, or I would say the fans. You cannot stop them. Even if you bring facts, if you say 2 + 2 is 4, they will try and make it false. That is their job. Their job is to support their own countrymates. So the thing is, what you should do is just focus on your debate. I'm not gonna lie, the first time, I started debating online, at some point I was even responding to the comments. I was giving my deliberations, but at some point, if they comment, I will respond to the comment and continue. But at the end of the day, it will be my fault because, I'm going to lose my marks and all of those stuff. So my advice to you guys is just continue your debate. You did your research. We know that you will not come to the debate without doing your research. You did your research, but you don't expect, the opposite team to support you. That's not going to happen. It's not possible. They're not going to do that. They came to support the country they are residing in. At the end of the day, we are all Gambians, but you don't expect them. Let's say, for example, I am residing in India, I live in India and go and support US. I'm not going to do that. Even if US is like they're a dictionary or they are saying everything that is right, I will find a way to challenge them. But yet still, to the comment section, to the audience, let's try to be respectful. Let's try to support one another and all. Yeah, so Batava, overall, this was a really interesting debate. And we look forward, to the semifinals. I guess we are going to the semifinals. We look forward, to have another amazing sessions. And to the adjudicators too. I know, it's very difficult, to judge or to adjudicate at some point. It's very difficult, but we thank you, for your time and being able to give the points at the best of your capability. We don't expect you guys to be perfect, and I know even the debaters don't expect you guys to be perfect. But at some point, you don't want to lose to as a debater. But there should be an understanding that these adjudicators, they are judged based on their capabilities or based on the knowledge they have regarding debate rules. That is how they are debating. So you don't expect them to be perfect 100%. Or at some point, if you don't agree with something they are doing, you expect them that, okay, they should think the way you are thinking. We are all human beings, and there are certain things or certain points we think at a different point of view. Yeah, so Batofa, that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. I wish you all, a very good night. And yes, Manchester United, we beat Man City yesterday. Thank you very much, Batofa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Modo Luis. So just like Mr. Modo Luis mentioned, like so 4 associations are going to make it to the semi-final. That are the 3 winners and one of the losers with the highest point from the losing position. So we are going to communicate it accordingly, and we are going to update the general members regarding the association that have made it to the semi-final. Thank you very much. Embedo Fujam Ala Barakabagi. Good night.